This is Ninja's best-selling glass bowl air fryer. Oh, no, hang on a second. This is actually Ninja's best-selling glass bowl air fryer, and this one is from Salter, and it's £60 cheaper. But here's the thing, I've been testing both of them out for the last week, and they are nearly identical. And actually, I think the cheaper one is the better product, and it's not down to cooking performance. It's one design decision that completely changes how practical these are to live with. Let me show you. First of all, if you're new here, I'm Clara. I've tested around 40 air fryers over the last 3 years, and I've actually bought the Ninja Crispi twice. Once when it launched, when it had teething problems, and again this year after Ninja had ironed most of them out. But in truth, I've never thought the design of the Crispi was as good as it could be, and ever since it launched, I've been waiting for a rival company to take the basics of the design and improve it. And finally someone has. This is the Salter Crisp & Go. It costs £89.99 and the Ninja is £149.99. Both models come with a large bowl and a small bowl. With the Ninja, those bowls are 3.8 litres and 1.4 litres, and with the Salter, they are marginally bigger at 4 litres and 1.5 litres. All of the bowls are thermal shock resistant, so you can take them out of the fridge and then heat in them straight away. And the bowls also have plastic storage lids so you can refrigerate leftovers or make food in advance. And of course, they both have a heat pod, which you lift on and off, and an adapter so you can switch between the two size bowls. If you're tight on storage space, like for instance, if you're using them in a caravan, you can fit the smaller bowl inside the larger one so they can both be stacked and tucked away neatly in a cupboard. So the first cooking test I did with these two air fryers was bacon. Just 3 rashers of bacon in each air fryer because my family had eaten the other half of the packet that I bought for this test. And that tends to happen when you're cooking in a real kitchen. The Salter, like the Ninja, has 4 different cooking settings. But the big difference is the Salter has temperature controls too. So you can choose your setting and then alter the temperature to between 90 and 200 Celsius. Both of these batches of bacon were cooked on air fry for 8 minutes. On the Ninja, the air fry setting is supposed to be somewhere around 200 Celsius, and on the Salter, I was actually able to choose 200 Celsius with the temperature controls. Now, a little quirk of the Ninja is that the fan is very powerful, more powerful than the Salter. So you often find it makes food spin around on air fry, which has created a few viral moments with dancing dishes in the glass bowl. When I did the bacon, the crisper plate in the Ninja also had a life of its own, popping up midway through cooking and causing all the bacon to slide down into one corner. Despite that, the 2 batches of bacon ended up looking pretty similar. If I served them to someone, I don't think they'd know which rasher came out of which air fryer. I expected having temperature control to make a huge difference, but actually it didn't this time, although there was a noticeable difference with another food test, which you'll see in a moment. Now, regarding that crisper plate that you saw popping up when I was cooking the bacon, I want to show you why that happened. Both the Salter and the Ninja have metal plates that you can use in the glass bowls that allow the air to circulate under the food. And both of them have PFAS-free non-stick coating, which is great for those who are trying to avoid forever chemicals. But the Ninja plate is quite a tight fit, and it doesn't actually have contact with the bottom of the bowl. Instead, it relies on the silicone bumpers making contact with the sides of the bowls. And this means it's often not level when you're cooking on it. And as you saw, that means it can move around during cooking. But the one that goes in the Salter bowl is a little bit smaller, so it goes in and out easily, and it has silicone feet, so it's always level on the bottom of the bowl, and it doesn't shift around and make your food slide into one corner. Now, I also tried cooking frozen chips in both air fryers. Salter and Ninja tell you that you need to toss or turn the food in the bowl midway through cooking to ensure it's evenly cooked. And here's where the Salter has another feature which wins over the Ninja. To turn the food, you need to remove the heat pods from the glass bowls. And when you do that, both of them will pause cooking. But when you put them back, only the salter resumes cooking automatically. With the Ninja, you need to press the start button again to get it going. Now, granted, it's not a big deal, but other Ninja air fryers do restart on their own. And just a reminder, this is the more expensive of the two air fryers. So next I tried homemade cookies. It's really easy when you're doing cookies to run the temperature too hot and end up with them overcooked and crunchy and not gooey and soft in the middle. So I chose bake and 180 Celsius on the salter and roast on the Ninja. Now, before you say that choosing settings with different names means this test isn't fair, I'll let you in on a secret. The setting, which is called roast on UK Crispies, is actually called bake on the US ones. Halfway through cooking, I realised I'd selected a temperature for the salter that was too high, so I was able to drop it midway through cooking by 10 degrees, which is one of the great things about having temperature control. Here's what the two batches looked like when they were done. Again, the results were really similar, but like I said at the beginning, the reason why the salter gets my vote isn't actually anything to do with the cooking. So the final test was toast. I used Crisp for this, and on the salter I set the temperature to 180 Celsius and I turned them halfway through cooking. You may remember I said the Crispi bowl is actually a tiny bit smaller than the salter, and you can see the bread was a slightly tighter fit. At the end, results in the salter were better than the Ninja, and in fact I actually stuck the Ninja slice back in the salter to finish off browning. So temperature control didn't actually make a huge difference to those cooking results, but I'd still rather have it than not. And I like the ability to change the temperature midway through cooking if you think the food needs more heat or is at risk of burning. Now, I've left the real deal breaker till now to tell you about, because regardless of everything else I've told you, I think this is the thing that's going to decide it for most people. When you finish cooking, the boring reality is that you need to do the washing up. If you buy the Ninja Crispi, the bowls are permanently attached to the plastic stands, and this makes them a bit of a pain to wash and also very difficult to get dry afterwards, particularly if you want to do it quickly. But if you buy the salter, the bowls are made to be separated from the plastic stands. With the smaller bowl, you literally just lift it out, and with the 4-litre bowl, there is a hidden release switch on the bottom of both handles. Once they're out, you can wash them in the sink or stick them in the dishwasher. And also, while we're on this topic, let's not overlook the fact that those chunkier handles are much easier to securely hold than the little ones of the Ninja bowl. So if you're watching this and you already have a Ninja and now you're getting FOMO and wishing you had the salter, I did do some checks for cross-compatibility between the different parts, and there is some good news. All the salter parts work with the Ninja, but it doesn't work the other way round. So the Ninja Crispi heat pod doesn't fit on the salter bowl, but the salter crisper hub does fit on the Ninja bowls, despite the fact that they've got different capacities. And the storage lids from the salter do also fit on the Ninja bowls and are watertight, but not the other way around. So in other words, if you have a Ninja and it dies and you want to buy a salter and keep your old Ninja bowls, you could do so. Although, to be entirely honest, it would always bug me that it's a little bit obvious that they haven't come out of the same factory, because the fit isn't entirely satisfactory. So unless you specifically want the Ninja name, I would buy the salter. It cooks just as well, gives you temperature control, fixes several annoyances that I've had with the Crispi, and it's around £60 cheaper. For me, that's an easy recommendation. If you're watching this video on TV, you can scan the QR code on the screen to see the price that the salter is selling at and some recommended accessories. I'd particularly recommend, if you buy either of these, getting a heat-proof mat. The brands say you don't need one. I would rather be safe than sorry. I'll also drop the links in the description below. And one final thing, Lidl have just launched their glass air fryer, which is even cheaper than the salter. I'm trying to get hold of one of them at the moment. If I do, I'm going to make a comparison video of that too. So make sure you're subscribed to this channel and you've got notifications on so you won't miss it.